Tijan Salaun, is he just going to hit every three-pointer that he takes? LaMelo is balling as well. Looks like maybe, just maybe, All-NBA nod worthy type season. It's preseason, but preseason is for reason, and we're here to be reasonable. That's it. Only logical takes today on Locked On Hornets.
TJ Sally.
You are Locked On Hornets, your daily Charlotte Hornets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free. We're available anywhere you get your podcasts, and that includes YouTube. There's Doug Branson. You can find him on his Substack, everyhornetsboxscore.com. And I'm Walker Mail. Listen to me on WFNZ every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. Real quickly, did want to tell you about this episode being brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. You can place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Doug, after the first preseason game, which was an exciting one, yeah, the Hornets lost, but we still felt good about what we saw. It felt like there were many storylines, but the top two were LaMelo Ball, who is a $200 million man, and Tijan Salaun, a rookie who we're excited about, but there's still so much unknown. He's a mystery box. After preseason game number 2, there's a few storylines, I think less, but a few storylines. But it feels like the top two are LaMelo Ball, your $200 million man, and Tijan Salaun, your interesting first-round pick, your rookie that's exciting but still kind of a mystery box. Now, we went with LaMelo the first time, okay? There's more of the known with LaMelo. When he's out there, the guy's awesome. Tijan is starting to get real interesting. Like I have here in the rundown, when does this Tijan Salaun three-point shooting?
Oh boy.
No, this is it's fine. I'm just asking, when does this Salaun shooting become real? Yep. Because the first two preseason games, that's phenomenal. We'd love to see it. The fact that you give us 2 games, 2 performances like this, we love to see it. But also, as Charles Lee said after the game yesterday, he's going to have some really nice shooting nights, and he's going to have some not so good shooting nights.
No, come on. What are you talking about?
I know.
What are you talking
crazy.
about?
It's crazy. That's what I'm questioning Charles Lee after that comment. I'm like, wait, you think he's going to have bad nights? That doesn't make any sense to me. But it feels like Salaun is the more interesting conversation here, Doug.
I'm so excited about Tijan Salaun, TJ Sally. Let me just put that out there right now because everything else that I'm about to say could be misconstrued as hating on the guy.
Oh, God.
No, I'm not. But here's the thing. I'm excited about what he's going to become. And by the way, I'm just going to pre-apologize to everyone. My voice is in shambles, but I could not talk about this game. I could have easily taken the day off, but I'm such a sicko. I had to talk about this game. So
you're a sick sicko.
So look up. I was going to look up this, but then you stopped talking, and then I had to talk. But his first half numbers, when he got some time in the first half against what Miami was throwing out there, their general rotation. They were missing a couple of guys too. They were missing Hero and Jaime Jaquez. But it was generally what you're going to expect from them this season. He had 0 points. I think he had a couple of rebounds. I don't know what the
not involved.
Right.
Yeah, not involved.
That's if he has a role at all this season, that will be his role. But I will say this, if he continues to hit his 3-point shots at this rate, or even 38%, 40%, it's going to be, the discussion becomes much harder. Now, I think there's a next step to this, Walker, and that is getting Tijan Salaun more minutes and more involved as the preseason goes on to test him. Let's throw him in, not in the starting lineup, but let's have him come off the bench super early. But not only that, but function some of the offense around him and see what he can do. My suspicion is that it's going to look a lot more like what we saw in Summer League and what we saw at the end of the game when he just can't help himself, Walker. Sometimes he gets the ball in transition and he wants to do it all himself, and he fell over with the ball. Like, it was just a disaster, and it ended up being a tie-up.
Yeah.
Like, there's just too many of those in his game, and that's what he has to work out. That's what has to happen in Greensboro.
So you're right about that. This is why the hitting of the shots, though, was the thing that we focused on so much this offseason. Can you hit three-pointers? Can you hit corner threes? Can you hit the open looks? And that's what he's been doing so far. The man was 3 of 5 at one point in each of the last 2 games. He finished 3 of 5 in the first game. He finished 4 of 7 in the second preseason game. So if we're going what's for real, all right, so what we don't know is the consistency in which he's going to hit shots. We don't know how much make or miss league, all the cliches in the world when it comes to how many shots he's going to hit. What is for real, in my opinion, is the confidence that he has. That has been for real in Summer League when he was taking all those shots and not making them. Believe he finished 1 of 10. And it's real here now that he's making a lot of the three-point shots. But the confidence is there. And the fact that you're giving people jab steps, you have the strength to absorb whatever. And then that was the one, Doug. I'm happy that you're hitting open looks. I'm happy that you're hitting the quintessential kick out, catch and shoot looks. If you're going to give me jab steps and start hitting those at a decent rate, then that was unforeseen. That was unexpected. Yeah, the shot really changes the calculus in all of this. But this goes back to, if Tijon isn't hitting shots, I'm not sure how he's affecting winning consistently right now. That would be something that I tell you. But if he's going to hit shots, if he's going to shoot 37, 38, then you give him minutes. I don't know how many minutes, but you give him some minutes. You plant him in the dunker spot, corner. I mean, it's going to be tough to play him with like the centers when, you want Mark to run the seam, as Charles Lee was talking about, Nick Richards and all that. But it's a nice performance, what we've seen in preseason from Tijon.
But again, where do you play him at all in the rotation, right? If everyone's healthy, because you have Mark Williams and Nick Richards at center, okay? You've got Miles Bridges and you've got Grant Williams, who we haven't seen yet, but the injury...
He's hurt, yeah.
Right, he's hurt, but I mean, all indications seem like he's going to be fine for the regular season. So I think what we're really talking about is, does he get some early pre-swarm spot minutes, 4 to 5 minutes here or there? And then what does he do with those? Does he make good decisions in those minutes? Does he go down to Greensboro, learn a few things, come back, take advantage of an injury opportunity? I mean, I think that's what we're really talking about. And I think he's proven that he can handle that. The question wasn't, can Tijon Salaun be a major rotation piece? I think the question was, could he handle some spot minutes here or there and be an injury replacement down the line? And I think the answer is firmly yes. I was laughing earlier because in my game notes for everyhornetsboxscore.com, I wrote about that last play where he was fell down in transition. I wrote, it looked like a third place video on America's Funniest Home Videos. I needed sound clip. It's like sound effects, like whoop, 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 whoop.
You needed Tom Bergeron analyzing the play in the background.
Or Danny Tanner, that was what I grew up. Yeah,
very different.
See,
that's right.
There's the age difference right there. You grew up with Todd Bergeron. I grew up with I'm too sick to know anything but his character name.
That job is hard, by the way. I respect both of Danny Tanner and Tom Bergeron because they had some nice little quick ones in there for the America's Funniest Home Videos. I think for Salaun, you mentioned him just falling down. I don't trust him dribbling the basketball. Get a little scared when he dribbles the basketball right now. So perhaps we just don't ask him to do a whole lot. He's ahead of schedule, though.
Yes, that's the takeaway. The takeaway is not, should he be in the rotation or should he not be in the rotation? There was an idea coming out of Summer League of what's the schedule going to be? And in my mind, it was this might take a while. And now I'm thinking, this might not take a while. By the way,
not as long. Yeah.
Not as long. By the way, Bob Saget, I got to respect, RIP to a GOAT stand-up comedian. I didn't want to just say Danny Tanner. Bob Saget, that's who I grew up with. One more play from Tijon before we move on that gives me more hope that he can impact a game beyond just hitting three-point shots is that late in that game when they needed guys to step up and make plays, because this was a close game down the stretch, there was a free throw miss by Miami, and he stuck his booty into his man and got a rebound, got a man-sized rebound. I love that. I love that from young players particularly, and I love it from a guy that has a body. And it's the big question is does he know how to use it? And he used it in that situation and got a key rebound that could have if they had not gotten that rebound, could have been a disaster. So I love that from a guy, TJ Sally.
Yeah, I should have given more love to the 8 rebounds that he posted in this game.
Well,
just offensively. I was talking offensively, right? I don't know what he's doing offensively in that regard. But yes, effort plays. We've talked about that ad nauseum too. Just all the effort in the world, 100% motor. In fact, the coaching staff was trying to talk to him about maybe slowing it down at times and playing a thinking man's game. But offensively, I don't know how much he's helping you outside of making shots. Offensive rebounds, we'll see if those come along. But the 8 defensive rebounds, yeah, man, that's nice to see.
So Charles Lee talked about him needing to simplify his game on offense, right? That he was cutting too much. He was just too antsy out there because he wants so badly to be part of the offense. He wants so badly to be part of why they win. And sometimes that can be a bad thing. It could actually, you could be part of why they lose because you're doing some of those things. But it's so funny. Watch him in the corner. Now, he didn't call for the ball as much as he did in the last game, but watch him when he's in the corner. He looks like, and you've had plenty of puppies. I've had puppies. He looks like a puppy dog that like so badly wants to go outside. And he's just like dancing. Like you can just see him like just sort of shaking. He's shaking his whole body like, please let me outside. I don't want to stand in this corner anymore.
Oh, the early returns on him just being freaking sky's the limit type fan favorite. The early returns are phenomenal on that.
I want to play with the ball. Throw the ball. Throw the ball.
Let's move to the next segment coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Don't go to sleep on the Hornets just yet.
We talked about the Rook. We got to talk about the star player, LaMelo Ball, after what he did last night. So many people a part of Hornets Twitter. That's it. I don't need to see any more LaMelo in the preseason. Wrap this man in bubble wrap and let's get him to the real thing. We'll get to that coming up next on LOH. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. We appreciate BetterHelp. Halloween lets us have fun with what scares us, but what about those fears that don't involve zombies and ghosts and things like that? Therapy is a great tool for facing your fears and finding ways to overcome them, because sometimes the scariest thing is not facing our fears in the first place and holding ourselves back. If you're thinking of starting therapy, then give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and then switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Overcome your fears with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, H-E-L-P, BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. More Locked On Hornets ahead. Doug, LaMelo Ball looking fantastic in the first 2 preseason games. Last night, he finished with a 24-point performance, 7 of 15 from the field, 6 of 12 from three-point range, shot 5 free throws, made 4 of them, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, only 1 turnover. We saw the defensive intensity. We saw some clips out there on Twitter with him making the right reads, rotations. He looks in store for what could be a monster season, and you love to see it as a Hornets/LaMelo fan.
I'm telling you, people are waking up. People are waking up to the Hornets, and they're looking at LaMelo Ball and going, oh, yeah, I haven't seen that guy in a couple of years. Okay, maybe I need to go and rewrite all of my expectations for this team. In that first half, you know what excited? Well, I'll tell you the 2 things that excited me. One, defense. I'll get to that in a second.
Right.
But the other one was in 16 minutes and 48 seconds in a regular rotation that we're going to see in the regular season against Miami's regulars, 1 turnover. He really cleaned that up from game 1, where he's a little reckless with the ball, much more responsible with the basketball in his hands. Got a steal and a block, 5 3-pointers made in that first half, and then added 1 more in the second. But the defense, he again took a challenge. So in the first game, he took the challenge of guarding Jalen Brunson, and there were plenty of opportunities for him to either switch on to Jimmy Butler, or he just took Jimmy Butler in transition, and he guarded Jimmy Butler. They mentioned on the broadcast, it's like LaMelo has always had the tools to be a good defender. Like physically, he had, and just his lateral movement and the length that he has, and he's not like. He's not sort of a Kyle Lowry, like bulky point guard, but he's tall and he's got enough strength to like hang.
Probably, the exact opposite of Kyle Lowry in stature.
Right.
Size,
well, you're right, but I'm saying he's not a bowling ball. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you're not going to run into a brick wall with him, right? You could move past him if you were strong enough, but he's not. He's also not like super skinny. Like he's not like a Michael Carter Williams type. So I think he can be a really good defender, and he showed it in these past 2 games with that matchup against Brunson and that matchup against Jimmy Butler. He gave Butler problems. Like, Butler tried to drive on him, and he said, nope, can't do it.
Forced him in, yeah.
I can't remember like more than 2 or 3 instances of that happening all last season. Or all the previous 2 seasons of him playing, which equates to about half a season, I guess. But I just don't even remember that, and I've seen it like a couple times now in 2 games.
Yeah, there were times. I mean, even in this game, I can think of a time where he stalled a Jimmy Butler possession into a mid-range pull-up. That was a missed shot. I think the Hornets got the rebound, and that was because LaMelo was just staying in front pretty simply. What I've noticed defensively, we can get to the offense too, but what I've noticed defensively, I don't feel like LaMelo is gambling in passing lanes nearly as much. I think he's sticking to his assignment, and I think that's what you're starting to see from him. Again, like I go to that Steve Jones clip where, he's making a rotation and like helping at the nail and then, just switching off when it was the right time. And that was a missed shot by the Heat. Just like little things like that. It's it's making people excited. Now, yeah, if you have more thoughts defensively on LaMelo, we can get to him. But offensively, Doug, like, it just feels like he's so focused. We are to the point where I feel unbelievably confident that a 3-point shot from LaMelo is going in. I love the off-ball experiment stuff. Like, we flirted with this last year, and us in terms of talking about it, not Steve Clifford using it. They didn't do that. LaMelo's on ball, right? And so we had this conversation after game 1, like the usage for LaMelo. It's still going to be sky high, which is great. But like the off-ball stuff, it feels like Charles Lee sees something there more so than what you got from Borrego and or Steve Clifford. There are like the catch and shoot numbers that we would get out our megaphones and scream into them that, hey, the catch and shoot numbers are phenomenal. Let's see more volume there. Like, he's choosing Brandon Miller to be a possible setup guy for LaMelo off screens and then utilizing that part of his game more. Think about how much harder that is to guard, Doug. Like, what do you do? Like, now there's so many different options by having LaMelo off ball every once in a while. And, of course, LaMelo running the show, where when he runs the show, anything could happen offensively. It could be cross-court skip pass. It could be a behind-the-back pass. It could be a drive now. Because, look, think about how many times he was driving last night. That was a big thing for me as well. I love the aggressiveness. I love the shot making. You have to love everything you saw from Melo.
Yeah, I think he drew 4 fouls. He may have gotten 1 more. I think I checked it.
He shot 5 free throw attempts.
Yeah, I think he drew 4 fouls. So that's great. Keep that up. If you do that every game, then you're going to increase your scoring output.
In 20 minutes, by the way. Sorry, but 22 minutes, he's drawing that. So if you do like per 36 numbers, you're talking about what, like 7 free throw attempts, which is, yeah, now you're starting to get to some pretty serious territory.
Well, and that's the one thing we haven't seen from LaMelo Ball yet is a 40-piece. And I think that's definitely in the realm of possibility this season if he keeps playing like this, because we've seen LaMelo turn it on in the second. We haven't even seen him much in the second half, but in like previous regular seasons, we've seen him turn it on in the second half in a tremendous way. And so, yeah. Now, I feel like I'm the fireman in this episode, and I'm going to come in and like put this fire out that we have going on right now. I did it with the TJ Sally conversation. Here I am with the LaMelo conversation. And it has nothing to do with LaMelo Ball. I think he's excellent. I think the problem that the Hornets are going to run into is that they're going to play these lineups with Josh Green, and they're going to play these lineups with Miles Bridges and Mark Williams, all kind of question marks from beyond the arc. And I think eventually defenses are going to look at this and go, okay, there's some things that we don't have to respect about this offense spacing-wise, and we can challenge LaMelo Ball a little bit more than he's being challenged in the preseason. So, and look, if LaMelo finds a way to counter that challenge, or Lee adjusts the lineup, hello, Tre Mann, if there are some adjustments made, then I think, we are talking all NBA. Like, if he can have his numbers in a lineup that is like 3 out, 2 in, because like Miles Bridges, I don't know what that 3-point shot is still. He's still putting up some shots that are like, oh boy.
I thought he played well.
Oh, no. Yeah, sorry.
No, I hear
Miles
you.
really actually played very well in that game. It's just a 3-point shot. That's all I'm talking about.
No, I know. I was going to say I thought he played well, and that included an air ball from 3-point range. Like that happened. But I still thought, the right hand was working looking for Miles a ton, and an incredible physical finish down low too. Yeah, let's get to some more observations. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Bees everywhere!
We'll play our signature staple segment, Stangin' or Clangin'. We'll get to that. Plus, we need to get to the other storylines here outside of LaMelo and Salaun. So stick around, find out who's Stangin' and Clangin'. Coming up next, Locked On Hornets. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, NBA fans too, you can join in. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel.com, America's #1 sportsbook. More Locked On Hornets ahead. One more thought to your point about the spacing as it pertains to LaMelo. You know, I was talking about this with Willie P last night on WFNZ, voice of Charlotte FC. We were talking about Charles Lee kind of going against the notion of small ball, how he's not a huge fan of it. And I was like, well, yeah, I think what his point is, and this is what gets misconstrued when people talk about small ball, is they often just use that as a copy and paste for a bunch of shooters out there on the floor. So Charles Lee doesn't like going away from size, which makes sense when you consider the teams that he's been a part of. Milwaukee, having Brook Lopez, you have drop coverage, you have a splash mountain of a man, but also he can shoot. So then you go to Boston. What's the big trade they make? It's for Porzingis, who is a good shot blocker, big guy, 7'4", but who also can shoot, and that was the lone season that Charles Lee coached up in Boston. So when we talk about the spacing, it's why, like, I do think even if we joke about it, Nick Richards hiding a three-point shot under a bushel, Mark Williams, is he going to take over 10 three-point attempts this year? If there's any coach that's going to implement that, it's going to be him. Because if you don't want to sacrifice size to get the shooting, for instance, playing Grant Williams at the 5 with this roster, if you don't want to do that because you don't want to give up so much rebounding, well, I mean, that's how you do it, right? Like you have your Mark Williams, the guy who's going to be out there, stand on the three-point line every once in a while to create some space for LaMelo to operate. And if he knocks him down, now you have to trust it. And if Miles Bridges, even if he shoots what he did last year, Doug, like we've had the one outlier really good season, but even 35% from three, it's enough to make teams pay. So I think the spacing, especially with the ball movement too, you have both of those things. You have shooting and you have good passers on the squad. I think that LaMelo is going to work with a decent amount of space.
I heard a lot of if. I mean, I don't know. You know, that's what I'm saying. Like, and the thing with Mark and Nick is that even if they step out, they're going to have to hit some shots to make defenses respect that. Like, Mark can sit at the three-point line all he wants, and his defender is going to be like, all right, you're good. I'm going to go over here and do my thing.
And by the way, I don't think Nick is going to – it's really Mark. Like, Nick is not going to – if
Nick could just be in the right place defensively, I mean, my God, there was a sidelines out of bounds play, pretty crucial play. And Nick just – like, there were already 3 Hornets converged on the ball. And Nick decides, I think I should go to the party too. Like, I'm just like, what are you doing? Guy wide open, Jovic 3, bango. Like, it's like, come on, man.
Steve Clifford was cursing in his film room that he's locked in, trying to find the next Donovan
Nick,
Mitchell.
Stay on your bleeping man.
Let's get to Stangin' or Clangin', and let's just go ahead and start with the ultimate of Stangins and Tre Mann. Oh my God. What's going on? Tre Mann is becoming a star. Is that what we're saying right now? 14 points for Tre Mann, 7 of 12 from the field. Didn't hit a three-pointer, but didn't need to when he's able to get to the rack as much as he was. Finger rolls, off the glass, making you look silly, taking your ankles, and looking great doing it because he is all first-team vibes. Tre Mann, we've had the Allen Iverson comps, and Tre Mann just decided, hey, why don't I just play like Iverson in the limited minutes that I'm going to get? Holy hell, man. Like, he was so much fun to watch last night.
Yeah, I mean, you've been I don't know, worried is the right word, but you've been concerned about LaMelo Ball's 2-point percentage. But look, if LaMelo Ball can hit 6 of 12 from 3, and then you've got Tre Mann hitting 7 of 9 from 2, like that's problem. That's problem solved right there. You got your 2-point scoring. This team might not have enough shooting, but they've got enough slashing. Like between Tre Mann and what Miles Bridges did last night, going strong to the cup. Like I mean, They could move some defenses in that way. They could create some spacing in that way by just drawing defenses down by being such a threat at the rim, and that's what Tre Mann's been. His scoring, it's so out of nowhere. Like, it's so surprising, but it is, you have to call it what it is. Like, it looks like elite NBA scoring. And we didn't see any of this, although apparently Seth Curry did on the broadcast. Dale said that Seth said that the one guy to watch out for, from the offseason was Tre Mann, that he had gotten so much better. And this is kind of what it takes for a team that isn't expected to do much to do more than they're expected to do, which is have guys come out of the woodwork and look way different than they did last season. And that's what we're seeing from Tre Mann. I mean, yeah, you just really covered it all. His ability to move defenders off of him and score at the rim is, I mean, what he did again. I mean, he did it against Butler, and then Bam tried to block it, and he hit this like so soft little, like it's just, he's got so many moves now. It's great to watch.
All but 2 of his field goal attempts yesterday came from 3 or inside the restricted area. There was one mid-range that he hit that was just inside the free throw line, and there was one a little bit further in. He's taking the right shots, and that was notable from last year. That was the big takeaway, the process, and then he just hit all of his shots close to the rim yesterday. What do you say? Like, you love to see all of it, and he was as exciting a player last night, maybe outside LaMelo, but he was making threes, and that was fun. Off of the dribble, getting to the paint, Tre Mann was electric in that regard.
Well, here's also what you say. 4 assists, 0 turnovers, and he came into the game when you talked about Tre Mann being the most stangin of everyone. Well, the most clanging was Vasa Micic.
Like, the most. Oh my God!
What in the HE double hockey sticks was this guy doing?
Oh man,
out there. I mean, turnovers. That honestly, what did I write in my? I wrote in my notes, like, did this guy get kicked in the head by one of Nikola Jokic's horses? Like, what is that? Like, these brain dead turnovers, and Tre Mann comes in and saves the day for Micic, who was just beyond awful.
Yeah, the most clanging of clangins. Look, I like Micic as a player. I think he's limited, of course, but we saw a good stretch of basketball from him last year. It was Tre Mann that was getting the starts over Micic, and that was well-deserved. I know that the 2-week April stretch was nice. Micic was good in the Olympics, by the way. He was different from Josh Green. Micic balled out, and here it just didn't happen. I wonder if this is like over 30, playing a lot of basketball, looking terrible immediately. But yeah, no doubt. Like, he was just giving the basketball to the other team. And if he's not going to help you defensively, and he's not even a great 3-point shooter, he actually can get to the rim pretty well, but not like what Mann can do. If he's just going to hit every shot at the rim, like we're pretty much. I don't want to take like a concrete statement away from 2 preseason games, right? But if you care about what you see in preseason and try to apply that to the regular season, it's pretty clear who is the better of the bench backcourt players, and that's Tre Mann over Micic.
Yeah, and you mentioned Josh Green, and he only played a little above 6 minutes in this game and didn't play at all in the second half. And it looked like he tweaked something, non-contact. So I don't know if that kept him out of the first half. But then Lee, after the game, said that he kept him out of the second half, that was the plan because he had played a lot of minutes between, going to the finals run and then going right into international play for Team Australia. And so all I can hope with Micic is that what you just said, that he used all of his powers to help propel Serbia in those Olympics, that he just needs some time off. Like, maybe he just needs some cool off, and then he'll be fine for the regular season. I hope that's it, because, you might be thinking to yourself, oh, well, Micic wants to go to the Nuggets. Is he trying to just play himself out of Charlotte? But, like, he's played himself out of the NBA. Like, why would the Nuggets want to trade for that version of Vasa Micic? So he's got to play better. I know he wants to play better. So, but Tre Mann is absolutely taking advantage of an opportunity. You know who I felt worst for last night is they did a pan to the camera shot to the bench, and it showed Nick Smith Jr. just like staring off into the abyss, watching any chance of him getting into this rotation wash away in the waves of Tre Mann's cornrows and baggy jerseys. Like, he is just
DNP-CD in preseason. I think that says quite a bit. And maybe I was wrong on that. I thought that he would get a look here in preseason.
Well, he
had
an injury,
players.
so it was listed as DNP-CD. That's the thing.
Well, okay, no, you're right. I'm sorry. Yes, he's listed as DNP-CD, but so is Mark Williams. So is Grant Williams.
Because
right.
and you got and I think a lot of people would look at that confused. So we should clear this up, because I just learned this, that teams, they don't have to report injuries.
That's right.
In the preseason, which is odd because you can bet on preseason games. So like, look, you can be a degenerate gambler if you want. That's only you. But I would not do it on preseason because, yeah, they don't have to report their injuries. Now the Hornets did. They did mention that Nick Smith Jr. was injured. So yeah, but
that's an oversight on my part. He suffered a left groin strain at the end of training camp. That was on October 6th. They reported then that he'll miss the opener and he'll be reevaluated in 1 week. But your larger point stands in that it's going to be tough to take away minutes from Tre Mann. And if we see more of what we saw from Micic even last year, then like this is where I saw Rod, our guy. I saw Rodimus Prime on Twitter tweet this out. Like, where are the minutes coming from for Nick Smith Jr.? All right, rapid fire, Stangen or Klangen. Brandon Miller. I'll go first on this. I think process, Stangen. I think shot making, Klangen. Not a good shooting night for Brandon Miller. Missed a lot of them, put a lot of shots up there. In fact, put the second most amount of field goal attempts up after LaMelo put 13. Only hit one of his 10 3-point attempts, but he took 10 3-pointers. And also, the very first possession of the game, the guy gives you a separation crossover. I forget who's defending him. Separation crossover, shoulder into the chest. I saw that a few times from Brandon. I think that there was an intent from Brandon to get to the foul line as much as he could, to be physical. He only got 2 free throw attempts, but I like the process. Just missed shots, and I'm not going to worry about that whatsoever, like not any iota at all. But I liked what I saw from him as far as the floor game goes, trying to get to his spots.
No, I'm not worried about him at all either. I think he was clanging, and I think I want to save this because I think we should have a larger discussion about Brandon tomorrow. But there were some things that I don't want to even say concerning, just things that I think have to evolve for him that I saw in last night's game. So maybe we'll got to save something for tomorrow. So we'll talk about that.
Miles Bridges Stangen. Yeah, I thought he was – I just thought the drives for him, like that was some grown man basketball for Miles Bridges. Again, the right hand for him a couple times. He's always been so good at it. But you saw that on full display last night, a couple of tough shots going to the right. I thought he saw blood in the water a couple of times, and I think he went after, what was it, Terry Rozier in transition, where he had a nice recognition and then just went right after him and then hit a shot, not coast to coast, maybe it was. It was a full court press on that one.
How's that for winning culture, Terry?
That's right. So yeah, I thought Miles Bridges was Stangen.
Moussa Diabate Stangen had
he's fun, man.
Yeah, Diablocte at the end to essentially seal the game. Like that was Diabate was great, and 10 rebounds in this game too. And he even got a mention from Miles Bridges after the game, who said he's doing a ton of little things that matter. He's on a 2-way contract. Could definitely see him with the Swarm, and an injury two away from getting a few minutes here or there for the Hornets.
Last Stangen, Seth Curry.
Oh, yeah.
3 of 6 from the field. He's not going to be talked about, but like 3 of 5 from 3. Hell yeah, man. Just looked comfortable out there. Did he even have any turnover despite
no.
creating a cut? Yeah, no turnovers, but shooting, making his shots. Like, yeah, I thought Seth Curry looked exactly like what you want him to look in that role.
Well, there was that fun period in, I believe it was the second quarter, where him and LaMelo were just taking turns hitting 3-point shots. That was It was awesome. So Seth Curry wasn't really involved at all in game one, and I felt like he came into this game saying, I'm going to take some shots, okay? I've got to get some looks on the board here, and he did and looked great. Nick Richards clanging, 5 points, 6 rebounds, was out of position on defense. Got to be better than that. Come on, that's absurd.
This team is going to look a lot better, in my opinion, with Mark Williams, especially offensively, because Charles Lee, after the game, talked about LaMelo pick and roll, hitting the center and the seam, defense collapsing, then kick out. I think that much more suits Mark Williams' game than it does Nick Richards. Final one for me. This is an overall team staying in stat. 35 free throw attempts, 35 of them. And maybe my last little bonus staying in if you want. KJ Simpson, 6 free throw attempts for KJ coming in garbage time. Bryce McGowan's was so good at this. Like, that was by far the best part of Bryce McGowan's game. He's now gone. Enter KJ Simpson into the fold, getting to the foul line. Again, going 5 of 6 from the charity stripe. So I like that aspect. Didn't hit a field goal. Okay, two-way contract guys. So under the caveat of them being two-way contract guys, but still shedding a little love on some of those players.
How about Miles Bridges' 7 second chance points? That was more than Nick Richards, who had 5. That could be we're look as Miles Bridges and his game evolves into this or changes into this third man. I think there are going to be some wrinkles that open up for him, and second chance points, could be one of those opportunities. So yeah,
that role is going to suit him real well. I think he's going to play real well in that role. All right, that'll do it for Locked On Hornets. Thanks for making us your first listen. A fun basketball game, a fun preseason to talk about. The Hornets hit the road. They have 3 road preseason games, and then the 26th. That's when the season starts. That will be, I believe, against the Rockets. Is that on a Sunday? Is that right? I think so. Either way, it will be.
It's going to be a fun day. Sunday, Saturday. It's going to be a fun day. The Hornets, they took my breath away. They took my voice away. Oh,
Doug will look for his voice while we're off, but until then, he can still write. So make sure you're reading all of his content on everyhornetsboxscore.com, and he can still text you. Subtext, you can find the information there. I'm Walker Mail. Listen to me on WFNZ every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. Nada Edwards, if you're a fan of LOH. Nada going to be in studio with me for an hour today, so that'll be fun. We'll be talking a little bit more about the Hornets preseason game against the Heat. Have a great rest of your day. We'll be back with you tomorrow.